for about 30 years, so I have a little bit of insight into what it takes to do this successfully. And really, I mean, like I guess the main thing that I would tell somebody that was interested in this business or doing the photography is and I always say this, it's very simple. There are things that you have to know, but the beginning point, you know, if you have a background in photography and you've done some types of photography, is what I want you to do is I want you to set your memory bank to 0. And if you know, in terms of your photography knowledge and all of that, other than maybe basic vocabulary and whatnot, and what I want you to understand at the very beginning here of, you know, pursuing this is it's really more about people than photography. This is, you know, we do get compliments on the images, don't get me wrong, but most of the compliments that we get or that the photographers get are not related to the images, but related to how the photo day goes and how they worked with the kids and worked with the people and whether they stayed on time and were professional. Those are the meaningful compliments. You're making or breaking it in this business on picture day. And again, it's not going to be the images per se that determine whether you keep the account. You know, for me, a successful business is one that keeps their accounts happy. And I literally have seen photographers that handle 100 leagues virtually run a 100% renewal rate. I think I did back in the day when I directly managed accounts, or as close to that as, you know, realistic. And I've seen photographers that, you know a lot about photography run a 0% return renewal rate because they just didn't understand the relationship component to it. They thought it was all about their great photography, and they left the parents just dismayed at their attitude or at how the photo day went. So let me go through things like I'll go very rapid fire through some of the things that I think are extremely important. And again, you don't need to be a photographer to really get this, okay? On picture day, I mean, again, it's make or break. If you're an owner of a business, you have to plan that out ahead of time. I mean, you need to see the schedule. You need to staff it appropriately. You need to have directions to the shoot. You need to have the coordinator's cell phone number in case something goes wrong. You need to confirm everything a couple days beforehand. You know, I've had leagues change the park location and they don't tell the photographers, and the photographers show up at the wrong park. And I look at that as kind of like our fault because we didn't double check and confirm everything. So just communicate what's going on, when it starts, when it ends, and see the schedule, and double check everything a few days beforehand to make sure that on the league's end things haven't changed. Don't be late to the shoot. The worst thing you can do is be late. If you've stressed them out, if there's a coordinator's picture company and you're standing there, they're standing there waiting for you and you're not there and the parents are showing up, they'll never forget that. You probably lost to the contract when you do show up. Even if you show up before the first team was scheduled, if you told them you'd be there half an hour early and you're there 5 minutes early, you're still late, okay? So that's really critical. Be organized when you set up your shoot. You've got, time management is a consideration. So you don't tell the kids to line up 5 feet away from you when you're doing individual pictures. Have them line up 2 feet away from you or a foot away from you so they don't have to walk so far, because that extra 10 seconds of kids adds up to a minute and a half per team of just them walking a little bit too far because of where you started the line. All of these kinds of things add up throughout the day. The shoots tend to ebb and flow, so sometimes you're right on time, sometimes you're early, but you can have a bunch up of teams and run late, and that just how you set everything up makes a big difference. If the coordinator, a lot of these coordinators don't come to the shoot, but if they just come for 10 minutes, believe me, if there's only 10 minutes out of an 8-hour day when you're running behind, it'll be the 10 minutes that the coordinator stops by. And then you might lose the contract because at the end of when they review it all, they're like, oh, those guys ran late. Every problem on a shoot is magnified. If you ran a shoot late for 10 minutes because a couple teams were late and you didn't deal with it well, believe me, the rumor's going to be that you ran 2 hours behind schedule all day. If you argued a little bit with a parent about some point. The rumor's going to be you're rude and you yelled at the parents. If you were a little bit snappy because some kids weren't listening, hey guys, listen. The rumor's going to be that you yelled at the kids all day. So I, need just everybody doing this to understand, we impressions are very important at these shoots. Be kid friendly. This means be kid friendly to the standard of a sensitive parent. Okay. I've had photographers that have worked for me over the years, and they'll go out on a shoot and they'll, pull the kids by their shoulders and line them up, and they'll kind of be a little aggressive in speaking to the kids, and afterwards I'll get a complaint from the coordinator. The photographer's a little rough with the kids. That was always rough with the kids. And then you call the photographer and they're like, oh my God, my kids, I did this and I did that. And, it's like, well, these aren't your kids. Do what you want with your kids. But these kids, don't touch the kids. Don't yell at the kids. If you need to get the kids to do something, ask the coach to help you. Don't, I hate to say it, but don't tuck in shirts. Have one of the parents stand there and tell the parent, could you do me a favor, tuck in the shirts, or just when you line the kids up, tell them all, tuck in your shirts, guys. Don't do it for them. Don't touch them. That always leads to potential problems. Don't yell. Don't smoke on these shoots. I lost a $10,000 account last year because the photographer smoked, and he said to me, oh, well, I went behind the bathroom and smoked. Well, back in the 70s, when I started going out on shoots, everybody was smoking, okay? And if somebody saw a tattoo, they were like, oh my God, that's so unprofessional. That guy's got a tattoo. You can see it. Nowadays, photographers can have tattoos all over, but you can't smoke. You can't even smoke near the bathroom. Things have changed. So those kinds of things, you can't do it. You just can't do it, okay? And run on time, organize the shoot. That's super important. Look, basic exposures, I've got videos on that. Just expose the pictures right, okay? You cannot, and crop them right. So don't do something that's wrong because you think later it can be fixed in Photoshop, please, okay? Photoshop, when we're Photoshopping stuff in this business, we're taking we're taking profitable accounts and turning them into unprofitable accounts, okay? Get Photoshop out of your head. When you go out on these shoots, please do not take pictures that will need Photoshopped later. Please be prepared. Don't take photos thinking, oh, later this problem is going to be Photoshopped. Just do it right. Go back to the 80s and 90s where I did most of my photography and live in my world where there was no such thing. We just did it right, okay? And there's nothing that's changed today. You can set up these shoots right. You can do things right. You can have a Photoshop-free experience in this business if you just do it right, okay? And again, that's what these videos are all about. At the end of the day, what's a successful shoot? Are the wonderful pictures? Hey, you know what? I'll take mediocre pictures and a happy coordinator. The successful shoot is at the end of the day when they say everything went great. You guys did fantastic. They haven't seen the pictures. You can deliver so-so pictures, and if they're happy with the way the shoot went, you're probably coming back the next year. You can't have a bad picture day, make people angry, be rude, and then later on say, but my pictures were great. They're not having you come back, okay? It's not about the great pictures as much as it is about how the shoot went. This is absolutely true. I have different distributors that I work counts because they really have the relationship component nailed down, okay? They really understand. They're good at talking to the coordinators. They form relationships. So, they do retakes on their bad pictures and get it right the second time sometimes. So the people end up with something that's, passable. But but understanding, that this is a relationship business and those coordinators are key, and the parents' impression of your company is really going to be formed on picture day is more important than turning out, world-class pictures here. And then, so obviously, I mean, the best scenario is somebody that understands both getting great pictures and keeping the relationships. And I've got some great people that I work with that do get that, and they renew almost everything. Now, I have to say this. I have people that come and go within our distributor program that I've worked with over the years that literally renew zero. I mean, they're just that they screw up their first, second, third, fourth until maybe they get through a few shoots and then they're out of the business, or they get mad at me because that can't be their fault. And they move on. And generally speaking, it has to do with their attitude. It has to do with their open-mindedness. It has to do with their arrogance. It has to do with them thinking they know more than me or my staff, when all we're doing is giving honest feedback, or trying to tell people what works. I had a photographer last year, a couple of years ago, I won't forget the conversation, where after 5 or 6 bad shoots, he had 4 or 5 photographers on shoots that only had a couple hundred kids, and these guys were taking 5, 6, 7, 8 shots of every kid. And I told him, I said, you can't be making money paying these people to do this. Is silly, And his thing was, well, we want to get a good shot of every kid, and the worst thing that can happen is a retake. That is not the worst thing that can happen. I mean, and apart from that, shooting 5, 6, 7 pictures of every kid doesn't make you look professional. It makes you look incompetent. I mean, I am serious when I tell you that 97% of the time you can take one picture of the kid. 1, 2, 3, eyes open, click. Okay? You'll know if they blink. If you have experience, you'll see them blink. If you think they blink, check your little viewfinder thing on the back and take another picture. But you don't, in due course, need to take multiple pictures of every kid. Running the shoots late, having extra staff out there. That's crazy. So this guy's solution was to, cuss me out and quit. I was just trying to help him. And again, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I probably have, there's people that have larger companies than me. They have different business models. I admire those companies, but I do hundreds and up to 1,000 shoots a year through people that I've trained and I work with. I really do know what I'm doing. I mean, that's just, I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And I just have to tell everyone that over the years, people have come at me with ideas to change the industry. I had one guy I'll never forget. I've got backing, and we're going to make this web-based, and I'm people like me. Are going to put people like you out of business. I mean, I will never forget that conversation where so it was when digital was coming in with the internet and all that. And I was just sitting there with my mouth open, like listening to this guy going, dude, sir, you don't know what you're talking about. And I don't think anything that you're saying is true. Good luck. I mean, you've got investors and great. I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, you're trying to change the industry. I mean, go ahead. But I wasn't worried that he really was going to put me out of business, and he was out of business 2 years later, and I guess all those investors lost their money. But anyway, so look, humble this up, okay, please. When you come into the youth sports photography, the team and individual business, man, nobody cares if you were Madonna's personal photographer. I've had photographers, I hire them, I send them out on a shoot, and a coordinator will call and they'll complain. This guy was out here, he was behind schedule, and he was making a point of telling everybody that he had done photography for the president of Italy or whatever, and blah blah blah. And I mean, nobody cares about that. I mean, these parents, you might as well be a space alien when you talk about that stuff. They just want to know. The coaches want to get to the games, simple shots of the kid. Johnny, stand on the mark, 1, 2, 3, look, you're smiling next. Okay, all of your other accolades in photography, that's great. That means a lot in some people's world, but not mine. It's no insult for me to tell you that. Please understand that I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I am trying to get you to understand that some of that stuff, it doesn't matter in my world, okay? And so don't say that kind of crazy stuff. If something goes wrong with your shoot, like your images are no good, they're bad, and we call you and we tell you that they're bad, it's your fault, okay? I have to, tell you a lot of times, we'll call somebody and we'll say, these are seriously overexposed, and they're like, oh, my camera is broken. Actually probably I'll say 75 times out of 76, that's kind of the true percentage. People tell me their camera's broken. It's not broken. You said it wrong. You just didn't know what you were doing, and you don't understand your camera enough to know that you said it wrong. So, and again, it's very basic to understand the camera. Turn off all the special stuff, and it's very basic settings that you've got, and also have people send me images, and they'll be like exposure compensation +3. They're at f3 at a 60th in the bright sun, and they're blown out, and they tell me their camera's broken. You just set the camera totally wrong, those settings, you probably carried them out to the outdoor shoot in the sun from the night before when you were, shooting Madonna's album release party or something, and now you think your camera's broken. No, look at the settings. The settings on the camera, the display tells you what the settings are when you're there. And if you listen to my videos, you know that F3 has nothing to do with my business. Exposure compensation +2 has nothing to do with this business. I told you set that to 0. AIC shoots ISO 1600, and they're wondering what's wrong. It's because you're at ISO 1600. I told you, put it at 100 or 200, and that's it. All of this stuff is simple. And if you've done something else, and my lab has to call you and tell you that you've done something else, just say, yeah, I messed it up. That's where the problem is, okay? And so just keep it simple. And one last thing, and I'll make this very clear, is you cannot see most problems that I see on your data back, okay? Do not look at the back of your camera and tell me that you took a good picture, because that sometimes will look fine, but I'll have underexposed, overexposed, blurry, out of focus pictures sent to me, and they'll say, well, I looked on the back of the camera and it looked great. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. A lot of people say, oh, Rich, your attitude is so bad. You're so condescending, whatever. Fine, okay? But because I'm just, I know so little about photography, but I know this, okay? Don't make it about my attitude, just make it about the facts, okay? That data back is not gonna tell you if your picture is blurry. It's a tiny thing. When you blow it up, if you shot your pictures and your camera wasn't on, your lens wasn't on autofocus, it was on manual focus, and you didn't focus, it might still look okay, okay? So looking on this data back might tell you about a few of the problems that you have, but actually it's not going to tell you about many. And what you should really know in your head, you should know what the picture is going to look like without looking at this, okay? And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you understand your camera and you understand the settings and you get a little experience, you don't need to look at this data back to know what your picture's looking like. People that have done this business for years agree with me about this, and I know a lot of people, okay, that agree about this. It's not just me. You can feel confident in your photography if you know what you're doing and you follow the simple setting guidelines I give you, and you'll just know that your pictures are good. You won't need to check that data back. Checking the data back is probably looking at the image on that little screen in the back has probably caused more people to feel confident about shoots they were screwing up than it's probably caused more problems than it's ever fixed, okay? Because it's a false sense of confidence, okay? So please understand, what I want you to know here is I just want you to understand that, it's such a limited range of settings. It's a limited world. It's about people. It's not complicated. It's simple. And if you just kind of, come at it from that standpoint and just learn these few things I'm going to try to teach you, you'll do great. Okay. And that's all I want here. So we'll move on to some more technical videos, some more how-to stuff, go out on some shoots, have some videos on shoots, how to set them up and whatnot. But it's all pretty simple. And if anybody, has any questions ever after it's all over, my staff is available to answer them. Thank you.